How often have you stared into the night sky and watched the moon and all its stars? This is a sight that most of us draw inspiration from. And then there are a few amongst us who use this inspiration to create something extraordinary, something unique. And joining us today in Chokolaate's special edition of In the Spotlight is one such young lady, Thisakya Senanayake. Hi Thisakya, so how are you doing today?
I'm good, how are you?
I'm good too, thank you. The moon and all its stars. How did you come up with your brand name? What's the story behind it?
So when I was deciding on the name, I wanted it to be quite unique and I wanted it to be quite poetic and almost sort of romantic in that sense. And a friend of mine and I, we were sitting in her room and we were trying to come up with names and we were saying words out loud and things like that. And I ended up saying the sentence and it almost automatically felt right, so I decided to go with it. Anytime I've ever seen the symbol of a moon or a star on clothing or any other item, I've always been very attracted to it, so it just felt very natural.
So Thisakya, tell us a little bit about yourself. What are your hobbies? What do you like to do in your free time?
I love to travel. I definitely love to travel, and me and my husband, we try to go at least twice a year somewhere new every single time. And I love to read. I love to draw. And I love hanging out with my friends. I love just downtime in one of their houses and things like that. So I'm a homebody, I think, and I enjoy doing that.
So what are the top countries on your bucket list?
Definitely New Zealand on top of that list. I want to go to Africa. I want to travel in South America for sure. So those are my bucket list. I've been to Europe a few times, so I'm looking to go either South America or New Zealand next.
Tell us a little bit about your brand. Who do you design for? What are your audiences?
With this particular brand, I felt like it was missing in the market in Sri Lanka in terms of PJ and loungewear. I think that there's very little of that, and I wanted my market, I would say, is obviously women, and I want to expand into menswear and kids as well. My aesthetic is that it should be very simple, very classic, and very comfortable. And when I design them, I always keep those things in mind. In terms of the fabrics that I use, I want to use local fabrics so that I have access to it consistently. And so far, I think I've managed to do that. My future plans for it is to expand into menswear and into kidswear. And so I guess we'll see how that goes at the end of this year.
You've been in the fashion industry for about 7 years, right? How has your journey been so far? What have the challenges been like? And also, is there anything you would like to change about the industry and the entire market as a whole?
Well, I started off right after college. I did a couple of internships in the UK and in New York. And I think that gave me so much experience in not just work experience in that sense, but also how to run my own business and how to really market myself and market my brand. And that was very valuable for me. That was really just the starting point for me. And then I came back and I did a lot of freelance work, and I genuinely enjoyed that. I think I found out very early on that I wanted to have my own clothing brand and I wanted to, be my own boss in that sense. In terms of sort of the challenges that I have faced is that I would say to try and get anything from fabrics to good tailoring and things like that. Especially one of the biggest challenges I face as having my own brand is that the larger factories don't take small quantities on, and then the smaller sample rooms sometimes can't manage to do the different types of silhouettes and things that I want to do. So then I'm left with this problem where I don't have actually anywhere to manufacture. So as young designers, I'm sure that that's what a lot of young designers face. So I think that that's definitely a problem. Another huge problem I think in the fashion industry is that we take for granted our local crafts. I do some work with the National Craft Council, and honestly, if you go to any space that the crafts are being done at, you see that the people doing it are people either your grandparents' age or your parents' age, and there are no young people doing it. And that's because they've honestly watched their families do it and have not felt like it's feasible. I'm a big advocate of designers in sort of with my sort of audience and market to use our local crafts in clothing, because that allows them to give them jobs and give them work and really revitalize that. So I think that that's something that's really important.
What inspires you?
My biggest inspiration is my mom. In terms of her work ethic and just her generosity. My parents have been a huge influence in my life. Not just in my work ethic, but as who I am as a person. I definitely love a lot of the designers, like local designers as well. Some designers that I think are doing such an amazing job right now is Amish. He graduated from AOD. He just took part in the Mercedes-Benz Fashion Week in Berlin. And his collection is all about hand loom and hand knitted garments and things like that. So I absolutely love that. And there's another brand that's Kerr New York. They do such a good job. They showcased at New York Fashion Week. And it's so inspiring to see Sri Lankan designers and students of AOD actually do such a great and incredible job. Some people that I do, really look up to and think do such a great job in their fields. One is Ramani Fernando, and she always looks amazing doing it. And it's definitely Linda Spelderwin. I'm a big fan of Linda just purely because of what she's done for the fashion industry and local designers and students, AOD students, and how she's grown from, because I did a 6-month course with her when I was just out of school, and it was such a small space in a small house, and now she's grown, and all her designers are doing so well, and she's really good at even giving back to the national crafts. So I'm a big fan of her.
It's a brand new year. What are your plans for yourself and the moon and all its stars?
My biggest goal for 2019 is to put out my ready-to-wear brand. It's initially going to be a women's wear brand, which I will expand into menswear at some point. But it is a combination of local crafts, and it has, obviously, it's Western clothing. And I'm excited. So hopefully by the end of the year, the brand will be out and also in retail spaces. My aim for that is to take it globally, but I will definitely have a space here where it sells.
So Thisakya, thank you so much for joining us here today on this very special episode of Chokolaate in the Spotlight. And we would like to wish you and your brand all the very best for this year and for all the coming years.
Thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate it.